Hi, welcome to day 9 of our shut-in or confinement series. I'm really excited to talk to you about a tool today called the power of 5 minutes, or what you can do with 5 minutes. And I want you to stop for a minute and understand that there are so many things that we would like to do. Ask yourself, what's something that in these videos that we've talked about, in the other conversations you've had, in your family kind of gatherings, in your work discussions, that you want to get better at? Do you want to breathe more? Do you want to exercise more? Do you want to eat better? I will share with you that many people feel like if I just know what to do and I know how to do it, I'll do it. Let me tell you, that is not true. There are tons of us that know what to do, we know how to do it, but we don't do it. I call this going from insight to action. Think about it. Are there people in your life that you know of who know that it's a good idea to eat more healthy foods, and they know how to eat more healthy foods? They even have resources to get more healthy foods, but they still don't eat more healthy foods? Do you know anyone like that? Are there people in your life who want to exercise more, know how to exercise more, yet they still don't do it? Because just because you know what to do and just because you know how to do it doesn't mean you'll do it. The key to life, I believe one of the most critical skills in life, is being able to turn insight into action, to take what you know and make it what you do. The vast majority of executives that I work with, of businesses that I work with, they don't have a knowing-doing gap. They have a doing-knowing gap. They don't do what they know, especially when it matters most. And so most of my work as a coach is built around this idea of how do I help people go from insight to action? Well, one of the tools that I love is called the 5-minute gift. This is critical. I travel a great deal. Some weeks I'm on the East Coast, some weeks I'm on the West Coast. Sometimes I'm in Europe, sometimes I'm in China, sometimes I'm in Australia. Those are deep time changes and they really affect you. And there's many times when I've been working all day and I may be coaching in a business or an organization for 8, 9, 10, 11 hours in a day. And it's great work and I love it. And I generally come out energized from that kind of work. And as I'm driving back from my clients to the hotel that I'm staying at, I will pass many restaurants and places I could stop and eat. But I have a commitment to exercise. And for me, of late, I've been running half marathons. And so I have a training program. So many miles you're supposed to run each day and different kinds of runs. If any of you are interested, one of the best trainers out there that I know of is Run Smart Online. If you're interested in running, great thing to check out. But for me, I look at my training plan and I know this is what I need to do. Well, if you've been coaching intensely emotionally for 8, 9, 10 hours in the day, and it's 5 or 6 in the evening, and you're getting back and you're thinking, yeah, I don't know if I want to go exercise today. And there are legitimately times, like with my time zone changes, where I am tired. And I need to skip a day off. I need to take a day off. I need to back it. But here's my rule for myself. I call this the 5-minute rule. Is I have to, when I get back to the hotel, put on my running shorts, put on my running shoes, go down to the treadmill or outside to the path that I'm going to run on, and run for 5 minutes. Now, if after 5 minutes, I still don't really feel like it, I still don't really want to go, I can tell my body is saying, hey, you need to shut this down today. You need to rest today. Then I go back up to the room, change, and rest. But the vast majority of the time, once I start, what do you think happens? Exactly. I go another 5 and then 10 and then 15 and pretty much I finish a 5 or 6 mile run and I come back in and I feel great because I got it done. But it wouldn't have happened if I didn't take that first 5 minutes. There's a book called, I believe, The Power of 5, where I first heard this idea and adopted this practice. And I was coaching a woman who wanted to exercise more, knew how to exercise more, but couldn't move from insight to action. I needed to find a way to help her do that. And so what I did with her is I asked her, but she loved television because she loved to watch television. What she didn't like was exercising. So what I asked her to do is, would you be willing for one time, remember, just one time, I just need to start. Remember, starting gets things done. If you can get stuff started, you can get stuff done. I said, would you just, while the commercial's on, stand up and walk in place? Right? That's it. No running, no jogging, no rebounding, trampoline. Just walk in place until that commercial set is over, which is generally 1.5 to 2.5 minutes on an average TV show. And she did. And all she had to do was report back to me by text each night. Yes or no, just a Y or an N. No excuses, no explanations, just a yes or no. And she started to build on that. Well, at the end of 30 days, we had our monthly coaching visit when I came back to that particular organization. Because in that organization, I would coach people every month. And so I came back and I asked her, how you doing? She goes, Chris, it's so weird. Like I did the first week and I kept texting you that I did it. And, and then the next week I started doing, 2 commercial breaks. And then I started doing all the commercial breaks for the whole evening. And she said, I got to tell you, these last 3 days, I didn't even watch the program. I just ran in place for half an hour right there in my living room. And I said, how do you feel? And you just should have seen her face beam. I can't tell you how often we don't do stuff, not because we can't, not because we don't want to, not because we don't know how to. It's because we don't start. Starting is where it happens. And the rule of 5 minutes will help you so much with starting. I have another friend of mine that was looking to write a book, and she was never able to find the time to write, supposedly. And she just couldn't get in there and get it. And we were talking about this rule of 5, and I'm doing kind of, I guess you could say, friendship coaching. She wasn't really a client, she was a friend. And I asked her, I said, couldn't you, if you just sat down for 5 minutes, write 1 page? Write a couple paragraphs? She said, absolutely. I said, why don't you, every time you start to get bored and you reach for food or you want to go distract yourself, you're going to scroll through your Facebook feed, just stop and write for 5 minutes. Again, totally changed her life because she got that done. Now, sometimes all she had was 5 minutes and all she got was 1 page more than 0. But many times that built the momentum that got her going. She got into a flow state, she got creative, and just great stuff started pouring out of her. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, highly recommend that book for you. Great to read in your downtime. You will love it. He talks about habit stacking and how critical it is. And this habit stacking is this exact idea of the power of 5 minutes, the power of 5. And what he says is, if you have a habit you're trying to build or develop, but it's hard for you to do, you don't really enjoy it, stack it on top of a habit that you absolutely adore, that you're absolutely committed to. And so this particular person that I was coaching loved drinking morning coffee. So every time they had morning coffee, I would say, and they never missed their morning coffee. I said, why don't you stack your reading habit on top of your coffee habit? Because he struggled to read. Months and months would go by, and every time I'd coach him every month, said, what'd you read? Where'd you go? I haven't gotten anything done. I go, well, nothing. And he did it. He wanted it. He was committed to it, but he couldn't execute, couldn't go from insight to action. So I asked him to stack his reading on top of his coffee. So he'd have his morning coffee, boom, he would read for 5 minutes. Guess what? A lot of mornings he only read for 5 minutes. He was a very busy executive. But there are many other mornings that he started reading longer. And pretty soon, he started regularly reading when he was taking a coffee break, when he was eating, when he was doing other things. And he took net 0 time, not adding any extra time. And now he's reading significantly more. So the power of 5 says, and exercise, right? Let's say that you can't find time to exercise. Do 5 minutes of push-ups, 5 minutes of sit-ups. Do those Tabata exercises. There's so many 5, 6, 7-minute exercise videos on YouTube. Grab one of them. Just start. Just get something on, and you're going to be able to do that. I love this quote. James Clear, I was telling you, wrote Atomic Habits. This is one of his quotes, and I love this. He said, each day is a new battle to say yes to what really matters and to say no to what doesn't. Focus is practice. Every single day, you have to practice at training and developing your focus, literally shifting it to say yes. When my son was little, maybe 3 years old or so, he was not particularly loud, and everybody else in the family was. And there was times that he needed my wife's attention or my attention. And he had this habit of reaching up and grabbing our chin and turning our face towards him till we would look right at him and he could communicate with us. Because he understood that focus mattered. And what I'm asking you to look at is every day is a battle. Does that make sense? Like, it takes effort. This is hard. Every day is a battle to say yes to what matters and no to what doesn't, to control your focus in a way that you can do this. So to shift from insight to action is controlling your focus in the moment of choice. Remember we talked about the gap between stimulus and response? The idea to exercise, actually exercising. There's a gap in there. How you use the gap, as we said before, determines the entire quality of your life. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Go today, and I want you to write down, use paper, really do this. What are 5 things that you know how to do, you want to do, you could do, but you haven't yet made the shift of turning insight into action. And then I want you to apply the tool of the rule of 5, the 5-minute rule, that today, tomorrow, the next day, just 5 minutes on any one of them, or do all 5 of them, but any one of them, insight to action. Do it for 5 minutes. Don't worry about doing it great. Don't worry about doing it well. Just do it. Just get started. And then you're going to experience what I call the power of stacking in momentum, where if you got up and you read for 5 minutes with your morning coffee, or you marched in place while you're watching your favorite TV show during the commercials, whatever it is that you do, wherever you're going to go from insight to action, when you stack Wednesday on top of Tuesday, and then you stack next week on top of this week, and you start getting a streak going of 10, 15, 20, 30 days in a row of these 5 minutes, you start to transform your identity, and you move from a habit that is something you're trying to do to it's who you are. See, I don't have just a habit of running. I'm a runner. I'm a half marathoner. It's part of my identity. And when you set identity goals and identity habits, it's significantly more strong than you would just set behavioral habits and behavioral goals. So for today, take that, jot it down, 5 things that you know what to do, you know how to do it, but you haven't been able to cross that gap from insight to action. And then make a commitment, 5 minutes on those things, and then build a streak. Go for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. See if you can get 30 days in a row. And with that, I hope you have a great day. Make sure you love the people that you're with. Be kind, be compassionate, and be forgiving.